Alright, so what do we want to do now? Well, we already have our profile picture here. This image is like 15 years old. Alright, so we already have this image here. Now, I just want to show you how to grab the data from the database and then show it on your HTML page. So, alright, now that we have created the functionality to upload user profile image, now we're going to give the user the chance to update their user information as well. Now we're going to let the user update both of their email and username as well. Now if you don't want that, if you want the username to be one and done thing, because many social profiles and other websites also use this tactic, they only let either the email address or the username update so that they don't conflict their database. But now since I'm just showing you how to add this functionality of updating things, then we are going to do both. So now where should we begin? Well, as I said previously, we are going to begin visually. So we are going to create some fields here. So we can just take all the fields that are necessary, and we had deleted a lot of fields in the beginning of this video. So we are just going to go to register. And which fields do you want to update? Well, we want to update the username and email field. So just grab this form group and this one. So we are only going to grab these two form groups from register HTML. Alright, so where do you want to paste it? It's completely up to you. I'm just going to paste it after the legend. Alright, so now that we have visually pasted this in our account.html, we are going to change our forms.py a little, because we only have this picture field to be updated. And mind you, we are instantiating form with account update form. Alright, so in our forms.py we are going to add additional fields. Now we are going to need username and email, so we can just copy this completely from registration form and just paste it here. Now yes, we can instantiate another form with the help of register form, but if you don't want to do that, if you just want to instantiate a single form to update the user information, then it is better to create a separate class with only the fields that you want to update. Alright, so we have the username and email and picture in this field. And now if you also want to create the first name field and last name, you can do so in this account update form. So let's say you do want to create it. This field is similar to this, so I'm just going to copy it and we're going to paste it in this and in last name as well. Alright, so now currently we have this data required and this length validator inside our fields as well. So we have to make sure that these validators are in check. So let's change the labels here. This label should say first name and this label should say last name. And now this information, this username and email is already in our database. Alright, so this is a great opportunity to show you what our Postgres database currently has. Alright, so how do we log into that? Well, click on init.py because we are going to access this user information. So psql command from terminal. Alright, -d and then the database name. So it is CJ Flask app. I would like to mention here, this is the user. This is the password, and then this is your database name. So -U and user is CJ Postgres. Wonderful. So the password is CJ Flask. Alright, so now we are in our Postgres console. So we can type /dt for all the tables that we have. So we have only one table. So click on models and this. We have only this user table. Currently, as you can see, we don't have anything else. So why did I show you? Well, again, let's expand upon it. So /d, and then we are going to type in the table that we want to see the information of. So alright, so we currently have only these fields. So click on models.py, and as you can see, we have username, email, image, file, password. All of these fields are right here. So in forms.py, if we want to save the information of first name and last name as well, we need to create a model, or the second option is to create two columns inside this table. I feel that creating a new model is more efficient than generating two columns. Now, creating two columns is also very easy. You just need to type in two commands. But it would be a great opportunity to show you how relations in Flask SQLAlchemy work. So we are going to create a new class. So let's do that. Just at the very bottom, create a class. So let's call it user details. It is going to inherit from db model as well. So db.model. This is similar to db.model. Now, since this class has nothing to do with user authentication, we are not going to inherit from user mixin. We are not going to inherit from user mixin class. All right, so let's create the two fields that we need. So first one is first name and the second one is last name. And these are really just so similar to the options we already have here. So we can just copy this username string, and actually we need this ID as well. So first of all, we are going to just paste this and paste this in last name as well. And now we are going to copy the ID. So that's a unique identifier. So we don't need to type all of that. We can just copy and paste it. So let's fix that indentation. Wonderful. All right, so we have accepted a string of 20 characters for first name and last name. We want these names to be unique as well. Don't worry, it doesn't matter because these details are only related to the individual user. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we are going to create an REPR function as well to display this information. So define _REPR _, and then it will accept self as a parameter. And this is how you display the information. So return, just above you can see formatted string, and in formatted string we are going to type self dot first name. Self refers to this class, so it refers to user details. All right, let's complete it. Oh, wonderful. And let's display self dot last name. So whenever we call this class, whenever we use this class, actually it is going to return the answer in the form of first name space last name. All right, I hope that's clear. Now currently this class is just individual. It is not related to this user. So we are going to pair both of them together. And to see this thing more clearly, I just need to, hide this terminal and just make some more room here. And we are also going to hide this verify reset token and then hide this as well. So now we can see the complete code here. Now just at the bottom of the state created, we are going to create a relationship. You have not seen this thing until now, so this would be a great opportunity to tell you that. So now we're going to create a variable user details so that it is easier to know that after accessing user.user details, or actually just now I got a better one, details only. So by accessing user.details, we are going to have the first name and last name of that user. All right, so we are going to create db.relationship, and don't worry, relationship, and don't worry, we don't need to import anything this time. So just access that. And now we are going to specify the class name of this relation. So we want to create a relationship to this user details class. So that's the name we want to put here. So user details. Wonderful. And then what do you want to call as a back reference? Back reference is you can go inside this class and then use this back reference to refer this user. So any information in first name can access this information as well. So let's just call this back reference as parent. All right, that this first name last name is the parent information of this user. Trust me, it doesn't really matter. You can type anything here, it will not throw an error. And then we are going to set lazy is equal to true, because we want this information to load after loading all of this data. it helps with server resources. All right, so wonderful, we have created this relationship here. Now we want to call that information from this user details class as well. So we are going to create something here. All right, and you'll see that something. All right, so we are going to create a user ID. Now why are we doing this? Now remember that this user ID has nothing to do with any variable you are seeing here. This is a new variable that we are creating to store the user ID of this user. So this user and its ID will be stored in this variable, and you'll see how. So we are going to create a column, db.column, and this is going to be in integer because this is a user ID. All right, so there we go. And then it is going to be a foreign key. Now this is where foreign key. Now this is where it gets interesting. This foreign key means that this particular information is outside of this class. Please let that sink in, that this information, this user ID variable has some information which is not under the scope of user details class. All right, this information is going to come from another class, which is this. So this foreign key should be in integer format. All right, so which of this information is currently in integer format? This one. And how do you access this information? You already know that when you access any information inside this user class, you use a small user, not the capital user, the small u of the user class. So just be with me for a while more. So we are going to create this foreign key. So this foreign key is going to have user.id. This is going to be an integer value, which is to say, so this user.id means this ID. So now both of these are paired, and now it cannot be false. So nullable is equal to false. It will always have this relation. So it will always have a user ID. So now that we have created this model, now we will access SQLAlchemy and we are going to create this model or this table inside our Postgres database. So let's access it, and I'm just going to cancel the current console. So we have done so, and let's clear the screen again. And now type Python with the environment active, and now from Code Jana _Flask import db. All right, so now we have imported the database. So we can do db.create_all. Wonderful. Now press enter, and we have not seen any error. So let's exit out of it and type psql-d, then cj Flask App, our database name, then -u, and then cj Postgres. Wonderful. So the password is cj Flask. Great. And quickly let's say dt in tables. So yes, so with that command db.createAll, we have a new table, user_details. So now let's do /d and user_details. Wonderful. So it has a first name, last name, and then user ID. And how do we access values of this particular table? Very simple. All right, so it is just one command away. Select star means everything from public dot and then the table name, which is user details, I believe, and then semicolon. Actually, I want to make sure it is user_details. All right, so it's a good thing we checked. Press enter. All right, great. So no errors there. We just have 0 rows. So now when we save this information, it is going to have some information. Now let's create a new console. Now our environment is active, and now let's cross check whether everything is correct. So we have created forms.py, and we have this first name, last name, and rest of the information as well. We have also created this username and password here, but now we can also create the first name and last name. So we are just going to copy this particular form group. So from this div to this div, I have actually collapsed it. So let's open it. So let's copy it, and if you want the first name and last name to appear before this username, you can paste what we have just copied before this, and I've pasted it 2 times. So I'm going to do a multi-line editing. So press Alt and then double click username, then next one. So everywhere just we have all of these usernames there, and this one as well. Wonderful. So now we can just type and all of these will be edited. So the first one was first name. Wonderful, great. Now this username here, multi-select all of this as well, and then type last name. So we have first name, last name, and this is a mistake here. Let's delete it. Then we have this username, email, and picture. So in our forms.py, we are using every single field. So this form should be valid when we click the submit button. So in our routes.py, yes, we have already done everything. So I'm just going to run our server. So Python run.py. Great. We are currently logged out. So log in. All right. So we have our form ready. So we have the first name, last name, username, email. Now, let me show you something interesting. We currently don't have any information here, right? You cannot see the username already filled out. You cannot see the email already filled out. So how about we do just that? Now in this statement, we are currently, just validating the information on submit, and we are just saving the information as we go along. What if we want some information to already be there, to already be present when we come to the account page? For this, we can start a conditional from the beginning after we have instantiated our account update form. Okay, so after this conditional that we are validating our form on submit, we can do an elif statement that if someone is not submitting the form, there are certain things that you can still do. So before this image URL, you can type elif. Now we can use the request module of Python itself, and you will see how wonderful this is. So elif request dot method, which is to say that if the page is loaded, all right, there are 2 types of requests: getting the information and posting the information. So this information is being posted via the form, all right. So if someone wants to just access the information, then they are getting that information. So if the request method is get, so that's what I want to say. So if request method is get, then what should happen? Well, this is where we can say that show this information if the URL has sent a get request. So now we can fill out the fields with this information. So we currently have all of these fields with us. So form.username.data, which refers to this field. So username.data, this is the field there. So this field should have this information: current_user, which is obviously the user currently logged in, dot username. It is really simple, just like this. All right, so after this, form.email.data should be equal to similarly current user dot email. And now let's see the magic happen. Now before I run this server, I want to make sure that I have imported request module. So just scroll to the top, and from Flask we have requested all of these things, so we can just include the request module. There we go. And now we can run our server. Wonderful. So now let's just refresh this page and see. So this user was mythical and email was myth@gmail.com. So this information is already present for us, and we can just click on it, and suppose we want to delete this information and save a new username. All right, so we have shown the information of username and email. Now what if we want to change that information? We can do so before committing our changes. So here we can say that current_user.username is equal to form.username.data, and in similar fashion current_user.email is equal to form.email.data. See how that works? Now again, since we are just changing the information, we don't have to access db.session.add. We just have to commit these changes. So let's run our server again. Wonderful. And let's refresh this page. Great, no errors there. So let's type a different username for Mythical. So let's type Ancient. All right, and let's update the account. Okay, so we have an error that please fill out this field, and this is what happens when you type the validators as data required. Now what if we had some dummy data in it? Let's just type it in, and also we actually want to save this information of first and last name. So let's type Ancient1. So let's update the account now. All right, so now we have failed again. It is saying that none type object has no attribute. All right, so why did this happen? Now this form is invalid without a profile picture. However, we already have this picture. So how to avoid this crash? Well, avoiding this crash is really simple. Again, we just have to use a conditional statement for this particular block of code. Now we can check if someone has uploaded a picture, right? And it is as simple as typing if form.picture.data, which is to say that if someone has uploaded something, all right, then you can execute these commands. So these two. And if they have not uploaded anything, then don't execute these commands. And if these commands don't get executed, nothing will change and the server will not crash. So how about we give it a try? All right, so our page, I press the back button, so everything is fine till now. So we have added the first name, the last name, and change the username. Let's update the account, and wonderful. So the username is now Ancient. All right, so we have saved the picture data. We have also updated the username and email, and now we also want to save the first name and last name in our database. So how do we do that? Just after this current user email, we can say user_details is equal to, then we are going to access that model. So the model is this one, user details, and it will expect a first name, last name, and then a user ID. This is very important. All right, so let's say routes.py and type in user details, and make sure you import that from models.py. So I scroll at the top, and in this, so from Code Jana _flask.models, we are currently importing user class. We also want user details. Wonderful. All right, so it is going to expect a first name, and then a last name, and then a user ID. So user_ID. These are the fields it is going to expect. So first name is going to come from, well, form.firstname.data. Last name is going to come from form.lastname.data. And now the user ID is going to come from current_user.id. That's all we need to do. This is the information that we currently do not have in our database. So we need to add this information in the database. So db.session.add and add user_details. So add all the information that we are passing through this user details model. All right, and after this, save those changes. So that's why we have used the .commit, and after everything is done, return a redirect to our own account page. So let's see if it works. Wonderful. And now the last time it crashed because we did not upload any profile picture. We are still not going to do that. We already have it. So let's update the account and let's see if it works. So let's open our PSQL, and now it is showing 0 rows, okay, before that. So let's just run the command again, and wonderful. So we have 1 row updated. So it is Ancient1, and what a great first name, last name. But why don't we see this first name already listed here, the last name listed here? Well, I'm sure that you already know this by now, and I want you to pause this video and try it on your own. If you don't know, then follow along. right? Okay, so just like we have displayed the username and email, we can do the same with first name and last name. It is a little bit trickier, but you can rest assured that the current user has access to these properties as well, because we have created a relationship through this details variable. All right, so let's do it together. Form dot first name dot data and then current underscore user. Now, just like the current user can access, well, username, email, and all of these fields, actually, it can also access details. So let's dive in it. Details. All right. So now, the details will give you a list. So we want the last entered first name. Believe me, when you enter this multiple times, it is going to give out the information entered first. So let's type in -1 for the last information and then type dot first name. We have entered in this user details class, all right, with the help of this details variable. And then we can access dot first name and then dot last name, all right. And we can just alt shift and then down arrow to copy it. And let's just change it to last name for both. All right, and now let's run our server, and there you go. All right, so in this video we have covered how to upload the image. We have covered how to finally create new fields, new models, and then update previously saved information. So that is it for this video. It was a long one as well, but we have married everything that you have seen until now. We have created a new route. We have also learned how the server treats images. Remember that the server does not understand images. It understands URLs. All right. So if you can create a perfect URL, then your images will be saved. Okay, so that was really interesting and really fun. I hope you feel the same as well. And if you gained something from this video, then please subscribe to Code Jana. And I'll see you in the next one. In the next one, we are finally going to deploy this application to a web server. Next video is going to be more interesting because now your efforts will become online.